The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution was a landmark achievement. Ratified in 1865, it formally abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. This amendment declared that no one should be forced to work against their will. However, the 13th Amendment included a critical exception. It allowed for involuntary servitude as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. This exception has cast a long shadow on the American justice system. It has permitted the continuation of forced labor within the walls of U.S. prisons. This exception raises crucial questions about the meaning of freedom and equality in the United States. It forces us to confront the legacy of slavery and its enduring impact on the criminal justice system. The 13th Amendment, despite its noble intentions, has left the door open for exploitation. It has allowed for the perpetuation of forced labor, disproportionately impacting communities of color. The very notion of due process, as guaranteed by the 5th and 14th Amendments, is called into question by this exception. Due process ensures fair treatment under the law. Yet, when individuals are incarcerated and forced to work for little or no pay, can we truly say that justice is being served? This contradiction lies at the heart of the debate surrounding the 13th Amendment and its impact on incarcerated people.
Today, over 1.2 million people are incarcerated in U.S. prisons and jails. Of those, approximately 800,000 are engaged in some form of labor. They work in kitchens, laundries, and fields. They manufacture goods and provide services, often for meager wages. Some argue that this work is rehabilitative, providing skills and promoting discipline. However, the reality is far more complex. In many cases, prison labor closely resembles exploitation. Wages are often less than $1 per hour. In some cases, they are denied pay altogether. This practice raises serious ethical concerns. It calls into question the purpose of incarceration. Is it about rehabilitation and reintegration into society? Or is it about perpetuating a system of cheap labor that disproportionately impacts marginalized communities? The demographics of incarcerated workers paint a stark picture. Black and brown individuals are overrepresented in the criminal justice system. They are more likely to be incarcerated and consequently more likely to be subjected to forced labor. This racial disparity raises concerns about systemic racism and its role in perpetuating economic inequality.
The debate surrounding the 13th Amendment and its exception clause is not merely academic. Across the United States, a growing movement is calling for reform. Advocates argue that the time has come to abolish the exception clause and end forced labor in prisons. They highlight the inhumane conditions, the lack of fair compensation, and the perpetuation of racial disparities. Several states have taken significant steps towards reform. Colorado, Nebraska, Utah, and others have passed legislation to ban slavery and involuntary servitude in their constitutions. These victories demonstrate a growing awareness of the ethical and moral implications of prison labor. They signal a shift towards a more just and equitable criminal justice system. At the federal level, lawmakers are also pushing for change. Proposed legislation aims to regulate prison labor conditions, ensure fair wages, and provide incarcerated individuals with meaningful work opportunities. This growing momentum reflects a broader national conversation about mass incarceration, racial justice, and the need for systemic reform.
The debate surrounding the 13th Amendment exception clause is complex and multifaceted. Opponents of reform argue that prison labor provides valuable skills and promotes discipline. They express concerns about the costs associated with raising wages and the potential disruption to correctional facilities. However, these arguments often fail to address the fundamental ethical questions at the heart of the matter. Can we, as a society, continue to justify a system that allows for the forced labor of individuals, often for little or no pay? Can we ignore the racial disparities and the historical legacy of slavery that continue to plague our criminal justice system? The answer, unequivocally, is no. The road to reform will be challenging. It will require a collective effort from lawmakers, advocates, and citizens alike. We must demand an end to exploitative labor practices. We must invest in rehabilitation programs that provide incarcerated individuals with the skills and support they need to successfully reintegrate into society. Most importantly, we must confront the legacy of racism and inequality that continues to permeate our criminal justice system. The time for justice is now. Let us not allow the promise of the 13th Amendment to remain unfulfilled.